My name is Jossy, your real estate success partner. Today, we'll be talking about, I'll be telling you 5 compelling reasons why buying or investing in the Lagos real estate market is a very intelligent, is a highly intelligent move. Let's start with the high demand. Okay, so we've had there's because Lagos is a commercial nerve center, is a commercial hub. There's a high rural to urban migration to Lagos, and so there is a need for housing. There's a high demand for housing in Lagos because of the crowd. We have over 20 million people staying in Lagos. There's a very, very high demand for housing in Lagos. I said that as at last year, Nigeria had a housing unit deficit of 28 million, and Lagos had a very huge share of that. So you know that there's a very high demand for properties in Lagos State. Another thing I will talk about is the steady political climate that we have in Lagos. Yes, we've had a few political unrest, but it is very, very few compared to some other regions in the country and in maybe some other countries too. So that makes Lagos a very conducive environment. It's a stable environment for your real estate investment. We also have the tax benefits. Yes, there's tax benefits. Lagos State gives tax benefits to real estate investors. Like there's a reduce you pay the income tax you pay on your rental income is at a reduced rate. It's subject to a reduced rate. Then another tax benefit that you have as a property owner in Lagos is that your capital gain tax that's the on the sale of your property, whether it's land or house, your capital gain is usually lower than every other form of investment in Lagos State. So that's the tax, one of some of the tax benefits you enjoy when you own property in Lagos State. We also have the international appeal. Now, because Lagos is a mega city, you have a lot of foreigners coming to have their businesses, have their companies in Lagos State. You have a lot of expatriates moving down here. And so because of this, there's also a high demand for luxury properties in Lagos State. So it's not just about buying in places where, like we say, go to where the people intend to go to and you take your position over there. No, there's a very high demand for luxury properties. So we're talking about properties in VI. We're talking about properties in Ikoyi. There's high demand, believe it. There's high demand for properties in those areas. We're talking about properties in Lekki. There is high demand for properties in those areas because of the international interest in Lagos State being a mega city. So you may also want to look into that area. It's not just about buying properties in Ibeju-Lekki, Ekpe. Yes, the appreciation in those areas are quite high, but you have demand in a place that is already fully developed. So it's not a situation where you need to go and buy property and then you have to wait for development to come there and then for your property to appreciate and people to begin to have demand for your property. In luxury areas, there's demand for luxury properties because of this international interest. Then in Lagos also, you have the middle class in Lagos is fast growing. In fact, Lagos has the highest rates of middle class growth compared to other major cities in Nigeria, like Port Harcourt, Abuja, compared to places like that. So the middle class in Lagos is growing. It's another market you can look into. You can come in and decide to say, okay, I want to just play in that area. I want to cater for the middle class in that area. And then you know that because there's a high demand for it, of course, you know that your appreciation, because there's a high demand for it, you know that your ROI also will be really high. Then we also have the rental yield and the steady appreciation. All these are as a result of high demand actually. So when people come, when there's a rural to urban migration, people come to Lagos, and it's not everybody who is going to come to Lagos that is going to buy property. They will need places to stay. So there is a high rental yield. They will need to rent places where they would stay in. And then because of the high demand also, there's steady appreciation. You are sure of that. Anywhere you buy your property, you own property in Lagos, there is steady appreciation. It's just that the appreciation rate is higher in some areas or is faster in some areas than other areas. But there is nowhere in Lagos where you're going to have your investments, you're going to own property that you're not going to get a good appreciation rate. Now I talked about Ekpe some time ago. I talked about Ibejuleki. Those are not the only places where you can have your eye in when you want to invest in Lagos. Yes, these are the hot spots now, especially Ekpe. But you have other areas where you can also look into. We have places like the boundaries of Lagos. Though it is not Lagos State. So when we have places like the boundaries of Bega, you have Opik. In Opik, you have some sites that are in Lagos and you have some parts that are in Ogun State. Then you have places like Mowe, you have places like Ibafo, you have places like Shimawa. Now, because of the large and expanding population in Lagos State and the high rate of rent, a lot of times people tend to go to those areas to get their accommodation. And also because of high demand in Lagos and certain other areas where there is really demand for areas for investment, it makes these areas very, very expensive to own properties. So you have people going to these boundaries, Chimawa, Mowe, to buy land, and then, or especially if they want to live in. They are also very cool areas, but they are in Ogun State. So the laws and regulations guiding property ownership in Lagos State is very different. Now, if you're going to places like that, then you need to find out the laws and their regulations with regards to owning properties in such areas. And then we also have Ikorodu. So Ikorodu is another area. There's sometime this week I talked about some of the things that drive attention in when it comes to owning property in certain areas. And one of those things are infrastructural and transportation. Now for Ikorodu, there's you have the Lagos State Transport, that's the BRT. And so from Ikorodu, you can get it straight to the island where there are lots of business activities going on there. You have a lot of offices, a lot of offices and companies there. So you don't have to live in those areas. You don't have to live on the island because of the high rental rates. So there is demand for property in places like Ikorodu. You can also look into places like that. Then of course you have the airwave transports. Ikorodu is really doing very well with the water transport. So if you're going to go by road and it's going to take you, say, 2 hours, let me use that as an example, to get to the island. But if you go by the water waves, you are getting there in less than 30 minutes. So that's another thing that makes Ikorodu really attractive, for owning properties, because there's a high demand for it also. You don't have to live on the island, or you don't have to, you can get a place. So you can also look into Ikorodu. Now, Badagry is another place that is upcoming. It is silent for now, but there is going to be another free trade zone in Badagry, and so there's likely to be the kind of rush we have at Bejuleki in Badagry. You can also look into that area. Now, we also have other areas too that are fully developed, but for there's still need for properties in such areas. It is rare to find empty plots or to find property land for sale in such areas. Sometimes even some of the properties you find are properties where you need to demolish and rebuild and all that. But you can still look into places like Abulegba. You can look into places like Abulegba, Ikola. There's estates springing up in Ikola. So you can also look into places like that, for your real estate investment. These places like Ikorodu and Abulegba, Shimawa are places where you can buy and start to develop immediately. Unlike when you buy in Ekpe, when you buy in Ibejuleki, places like Abulegba, places like Ikorodu and the boundaries of Lagos, Mowe and all that, they are already fully developed. So there are places where you can buy and you can develop immediately. So if you are looking to come into the market to buy and develop and start providing housing options for people, you can look into areas like that. The demand in those areas too are also very high. So today we talked about 5 compelling reasons why investing in the Lagos property market is a highly intelligent move. So I talked about the high demand for it, talked about the stable political climate, we talked about the foreign interests, the international interest here. We talked about the high interest, high steady appreciation, and we talked about the high rental yield. We talked about the tax benefits in owning properties in Lagos, the tax benefits that the Lagos state government gives to people who own properties in Lagos state. So it's not just about coming to buy. I've had a few people tell me, is it just Ekpe? Is it just Ibejuleki? Is it just I don't want those areas, yet I still want to have other areas in Lagos in my portfolio. And so these are other areas you can look into. There's a high demand. The middle class in Lagos state is growing. So you can cater to that. And catering to that, there are areas where you can buy and instantly begin to earn from it. So you can cater to that. You can also cater, you can come in and just decide to do luxury, strictly luxury. There's a market for it. So any level in which you want to play in, there's a huge market for it in Lagos. Whether you want to do the middle class, whether you want to do the high and higher class, we have properties. There are properties in Banana Island. In fact, there's still land in Banana Island waiting to be developed. There is a market for it. I'm telling you. So you think about it. I don't just want to do Ekpe. I don't just want to do Ibejuleki. Their market in Lagos is a very, very fertile ground for real estate. In whatever way you want to come in, there is market for it. You want to come in strictly for beachfront properties. I tell you, you will not even believe the market in that section, in that sector. Beachfront properties, lagoon front properties, even in Ekpe. I told you that Ekpe is on the north bank of the coastal Lagos lagoon. So we have a lot of lagoon front properties in Ekpe. You can also decide to just say, okay, I just want to invest in beachfront properties. There is a very, very, very high demand for it, and they are safe. I've had clients say, Lagos, are they going to put the right things in place to ensure that they don't have issues with water and all that? When it comes to putting things like this in place, when it comes to infrastructural development and all that, Lagos is top notch compared to other states. So you can decide to look into waterfront or beachfront, lagoon front properties. That's another thriving market. If you have found the tips, the things I have said here useful, you can share it with your family, you can share it with your friends, you can also save it so that you can make easy reference to it at any point in time. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.